Focused on today. Focused on today. Focused on today. Just win today. Just win today.
Go to whirlwindgolf.com. Click on Whirlwind Plus. You can save up to 60% on greens fees, 15% at the restaurant Civlic and the Pro Shop, and be entered to win all kinds of prizes throughout the year and enjoy great contests. Go to whirlwindgolf.com and feel the wind.
Thanks for listening, Unplugged Army. I'm Louis Unga, General Manager at Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. We're proud to present Doug Franz Unplugged.
Four-minute offense.
4-minute offense.
4 minutes.
4-minute offense. 4-minute offense.
Everything you need to know in sports that affects Maricopa County, the state of Arizona, and the world, you get in 4 minutes. We start things off in downtown Phoenix. Before the game, Governor Katie Hobbs sat on the dugout and signed House Bill 2704. The bill will funnel the state tax money that's generated by events at Chase Field and the area immediately surrounding it back into the stadium itself for potential $500 million worth of improvements, and then the Diamondbacks have promised to kick in another $250 million. On the field, looked like the Diamondbacks were improved in one of the best defensive games of the year for Arizona. They beat Texas 2-0. Zach Allen went 6 innings, didn't give up a run. Torey Lavello, what'd you see?
This had a typical Zach Allen feel to it. He was out there executing pitches. I think he's driving his fastball in some counts where he's typically soft, so the sequencing was good. You could tell by some of the takes that the Ranger players had their strategy to what they were going to do, and I think Zach did a really good job of counterpunching.
The bullpen of Thompson, Curtis, South Frank, and Woodford also pitched the final 3 innings, and they shut out the Rangers. Diamondbacks are now 5.5 back of the playoffs. They're off today. They host Boston tomorrow night. Phoenix Mercury tied for third, a half game out of second. They can close that gap with a win tonight in Washington. The Mystics are in 10th place. Tip-off in our nation's capital, 4:30. ASU leaves tomorrow for Mississippi to take on the Bulldogs. Their head coach, Jeff Lebby, is just as impressed with Sam Leavitt as most of the country is.
Their unit is really dangerous on the offensive side of the ball and create a bunch of explosive plays. Again, QB that I think people think is as good as there is in America. So they put those guys in positions of success. So got a great challenge.
Kickoff for the 12th ranked Devils, Saturday, 4:30. They're on the road. Wildcats are at home against the Wildcats. Weber State in Tucson. Kickoff Saturday night, 7 o'clock. Cardinals have decided to change up their road trip plans from the years prior. They're only going to leave on Saturday and have 1 day of rest when they travel 2 hours or 3 hours back east. Kyler Murray's entering year 7 of his career. Twice he's opened at home. This will be the 5th time he opens on the road. Kyler, do you consider it annoying that you're almost always starting on the road?
Honestly, I love it. Yeah, I don't mind it at all. Another opportunity to go play football with my guys, and I think like I said, I've said it since the offseason, I feel like we got a great group of guys in the locker room and they're ready to go.
Kickoff in New Orleans, Sunday morning at 10. PGA winds down with their lower tier events. LPGA ramps up for the end of the season. The men are in Napa at the Procore Championship. Ryder Cup starts 3 weeks from tomorrow. The women are just outside of Cincinnati in the Kroger Queen City Championship presented by P&G. Pablo Torres finds out. A great investigative podcast has reported that the LA Clippers funneled money into a makeshift business that then hired Kawhi Leonard as an endorser in a way to circumvent the salary cap. Both sides deny it. The NBA is investigating. In the meantime, the league is also coming up with another horrific idea for the All-Star game. This time, 1 world team, 2 U.S. teams, and they compete in a round-robin 8-man tournament. But remember, there are no opinions in the 4-minute offense. And finally, meet Dorothy Huffnagel of Hernando County, Florida. She's a defense attorney, but she missed her client's divorce proceedings because she was in jail. Just like my cousin Vinny, she was being held in contempt of court for a totally different reason in a totally different situation. She was in jail because she hadn't paid court-ordered alimony in her own divorce. I never thought of asking my divorce attorney. Well, actually, I've never thought of having a divorce attorney because I love you, Jennifer, but I can't imagine having to ask my divorce attorney, by the way, are you all paid up on your divorces? Do I have to worry about you spending any time in jail? Then to make matters worse, So not only this situation, but Dorothy's got 5 other cases that are pending in front of the Florida bar. She's asked for disciplinary revocation. That's a fancy way of saying we won't prosecute you anymore as long as you don't pretend to be a lawyer anymore. I can't imagine a more lonely feeling than sitting in a courtroom and it's a judge, it's you, your spouse, and your spouse's divorce attorney, and yours doesn't show up.
The reason why I always say that Bell's is not your typical country bar with mediocre bar food is because our kitchen is truly a scratch kitchen. From every single sauce that we make, to every dish, to the beef that we have come in, to the seafood that we have brought in each day, every single dish is handcrafted. We don't have microwaves, so you're tasting that quality the minute that it hits the table.
Bell's Nashville Kitchen on Main Street in Old Town Scottsdale.
You found home, down home.
Now this is funny. Not once, but twice. Okay? Same table, not once, but twice. 2 people order a turkey and avocado sandwich. That's what it's called on the menu. Turkey and avocado sandwich. Well, thankfully, at least they got the turkey right. They didn't have any avocado. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever it is that you've decided to make Doug Franz Unplugged a part of your day, my family greatly appreciates it. My name is Doug Franz, and you have found the only podcast in the world totally devoted to the coverage of the 4 major sports franchises of one great American city that drops on your phone each and every weekday morning. We also cover ASU, U of H, GCU, the Rattlers, the Rising, and the Merc. This is Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. How are you? I am in a wonderful mood, but I'm kind of chasing my tail today. It's 4:42 this morning right now for me, and I want to try to. My goal is to always get the podcast. That was weird. The podcast up by 5, but guaranteed to be up by 6, and you get your money back, I guess, if I fail on the guarantee. I don't know how I'm going to accomplish either goal, but I've had such a strange night that I don't know what else I was supposed to do about it. Had a lot of daddy duty that kind of got in the way today. Hopefully everything's going great for you. My day yesterday, got to bed at about 6:30 in the morning yesterday. Woke up at 9:30 in the morning because they were having an 11 o'clock signing for House Bill, what's the number? House Bill 2704. That's the bill that grants Chase Field the opportunity to create a special tax district in and around Chase Field, in which that money then gets funneled back into the improvements of Chase Field. Well, the governor, I don't know what happened, but everybody sat there for like 35 minutes, and finally the governor shows up. I have no idea why she was late. That drove me nuts because that's 30 minutes of sleep I could have had. But good ceremony. And I really enjoyed it. I had a nice talk with Derek Hall for a little while. And I can understand a lot of you being incredibly frustrated with Derek Hall. He's been the leader of this franchise since about 06, 07, something like that. And they've gotten to one World Series, couple playoffs, but not a consistent winner. And if you're the president and CEO, you got to wear it. And I get that. But for me, this was a strange realization back in like probably the end of 07 when I got to know Derek a little bit more in a non-professional way, in a little more personal way. I was shocked by one thing. He's the same guy. Like we would, Wolf and I would interview him once a week. And I just kind of thought, this guy's nuts. He's just positive all the time. Nothing's terrible. It just drove me crazy. And he would spin everything to be, well, it's okay for D-backs fans. And I was like, okay, I like your attitude, but you're just not it's just not real. And then I got to know him and I realized he's like that all the time. And once I realized he wasn't fake, I thought, well, I really like this guy now. So I consider Derek Hall a friend. I'm always rooting for him. I can't remember whether it was him or Rick Welch, but he was one of the first two people in the entire city to call me and welcome me to town and wish me luck on Doug and Wolf. And of course, there's politics behind that. Of course, a team president is doing it in order to hopefully get favorable pub, create a friendship, things like that. But let me be clear here. At the time, the athletic director of Arizona State, of the University of Arizona, the president of the Coyotes, and the president of the Cardinals, they did not call. And when you look at incredible customer service, it's always been the Suns and D-backs. So that's, to me, that's just part of it. And I've always appreciated that, always respected Derek greatly. So it was nice. It was nice to catch up with him. The game itself, I'll talk about the game in a little bit, but it was incredible. It was the lowest attended game of the season. And, you know, I'm not afraid to admit it. The Diamondbacks deserve it with the way that they've played most of this season. But I am so glad I was there. The defense was like, where have you guys been? It was championship level defense. I even said that in a question to Tori, what I'll play for you later. Loved being at the game. So then after the game, I head to Goodyear, and which is obviously where I live, but for another reason, as Jennifer and I had an appointment together. And I've got to tell you about a place that was really enjoyable. Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp. So for those of you that have been, longtime members of the Unplugged Army, who used to be a frequent contributor to Town Hall Tuesday, A.G. Kleino, was listening during that transition year of me. Remember how, again, for those of you that are old school members of the Unplugged Army, remember how raw I was in 2022 when this first started? Just putting my guts out on the table all the time. But then at the same time, trying to motivate you in case you're in a rut like I was. And Aaron, which is A.G. Kleino, just really felt that calling. So he started this business, became a franchisee of this business. And it was really cool to go over and kind of tour the place, see it. So we talked business for a little bit. We went to Saddle Mountain Brewery because it's right there in Goodyear. And they have a beer I like, Clandestine. It's a fresher, a little bit better tasting version of Kilt Lifter. No, I don't think it's as good as a Mountain Amber Ale, but I do like the beer. And for years, they've had great food. Now, I don't want to admit going there because I know a guy that owns a bar near it. And I should have gone there. I don't know what happened, but I don't mean to rip Saddle Mountain, but they changed their menu, and it's like they used to have all of this great food and great choices, and then it was just kind of, hey, what just happened here? So my sandwich is kind of simple. Jennifer and Aaron's wife both got a turkey and avocado sandwich, and they forgot the avocado on both sandwiches. Now, I don't know about you. To me, that's just absolutely hilarious. I don't know why I think that's so funny, but I do. If you said, I like a turkey sandwich, and it's on the menu that it says there's avocado on it, okay. Or if you order a turkey sandwich and you ask, hey, will you, upcharge me, please put some avocado on it, okay. But the name of the sandwich is the turkey and avocado sandwich. And they don't have the avocado on it. So I have a great conversation, good people. Jennifer and I end up going home. Usually I'm fine with 3 hours of sleep. Technically, I got 2 hours and 45 minutes, but usually I'm okay with that. I crashed hard. I got home and laid down on a couch, and I was out. So I'm probably asleep, I don't know, 9 to 11, something like that. And I'm going to get up eventually and start the show. I'm awakened by my phone at 11 o'clock. And Jennifer answers it, and it's the oldest. Vienna is calling at 11 o'clock. So you can imagine my heart is immediately racing when Jennifer says, "Hi, honey, is everything okay?" That scares the crap out of me. Vienna had gone to her young adult group at church, and then she was only out of basically the park. She had been gone for she probably drove 5 minutes, 7 minutes down the road and got destroyed by the haboob last night. What was really weird here on the west side is living in Goodyear, we got some sprinkles. Big lightning show, but some sprinkles. However, just 3 miles north of the 10, it just got destroyed. It got pounded here on the west side, up and down the 101 in Surprise and on kind of both parts of Glendale, the west side of Glendale and the north side of Glendale. So she had pulled over into a gas station. She said, she could use gas anyway. And so Jennifer and her are talking. Okay, great. And then I take the phone and I say, okay, I'll see you in a little bit. And she goes, okay, thank you, Daddy. She knew immediately I was coming. I am not just going to leave my daughter sitting at a gas station. And I'm sure the police would say, Doug, if it's too dangerous for your daughter to drive, we don't need you going back out in the storm just to have 2 people out there. So, but come on, I'm a dad. It's my daughter. And I'm not just going to leave her sitting in a car in a parking lot. But luckily, because of the monsoon, just to show you how nasty it was about 105 degrees in Goodyear, 72 degrees in Surprise. How insane is that? And I get there to the gas station, and you know what I have to avoid? An enormous puddle in the road. And I don't, what do you call a lake in the road? It's not a puddle, but it's this huge tire grabbing body of water in the street. So I have to take the long way around kind of the gas station entrance to get in. And there's a nasty wreck and 2 cops and a tow truck on the street. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So I'm so proud of my daughter for deciding, hey, I just need to be safe and not continue home. But I didn't think it was terrible road condition wise, except for this spot. So I said, let's do this. Let's drive home together, and you lead. But if it feels dangerous, put your flashers on and I'll pass you. And then you can just follow kind of the path that I lead, and the key to driving in this bad weather is speed. And when I say speed, I mean lack thereof. We get on the highway, and I don't understand this move. We get on the highway, and I feel comfortable on the 101. We were going about 35 miles an hour. I felt comfortable at that speed. Some guy had his flashers on and passed us at about 80. I was thinking, okay, even though you're an idiot for driving 80 in this monsoon, why do you have your flashers on like you're driving slow? So anyway, it's Goodyear to Glendale to my kid's house in Surprise, drop her off, and then drive down back to Goodyear. That took, an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes to do that. So I get home to start today's show, start actually collecting sound and research and things like that at 1:00. So I've only been usually it takes me about 7 to 10 hours to do the show in its entirety. And I'm now trying to do the show in about 4 or 5 hours. It's a little crazy. You can imagine I'm kind of running around like a nut right now, but I feel good. My kid's safe. Life's wonderful. And we're one day away from Beer Friday, So good things, good times had by all. All right. It's time for Doug's Big One. It's my number one opinion of the day. Let's roll. Doug.
Where's Doug? Sorry, Doug. Where you at?
Yeah, was that a plug to unplug right there? That was smooth.
Obviously, Franz is such a good player.
Doug's Big One. I totally understand this is the softest Doug's Big One I've ever had. But it truly is my number one opinion. When you first start out in broadcast school, which there really isn't broadcast school, but when you first start as a talk show host, you'll have your boss will always say, come with a strong opinion. And, if it's not strong, then that's not a good enough opinion, like blah. Or some guys would tell you to make it up. I'm not like that. I'm going to tell you what I think. And my number one opinion is I don't know what to think. When I look at the Arizona Cardinals, that is not a playoff team. And when I look at the NFC, the Cardinals are a playoff team. Yes, I said that. And that's Doug's big one. As I know it's dumb. But let's walk through it. And you tell me, after I explain this to you, whether or not you're kind of with me, okay? I jotted down some playoff predictions. I was reading Bobby Mack's article in the Arizona Republic, and he had a bunch of funny predictions. And I do like it when he does that. I'm entertained by that. So I put together my predictions. I put Buffalo, AFC, Buffalo, KC, Cincinnati, Jacksonville in that order as division winners. Yes, I have Buffalo as the 1 seed. And then I got Baltimore, Denver, and the Chargers in the playoffs. Very, very difficult predicting the AFC. But I'm not going to believe in Aaron Rodgers until I have to. So I don't have Pittsburgh in it. I don't like anybody in the AFC South. I have Baltimore and Cincinnati in it in the AFC North. 3 teams from the West, and I don't have Miami in it. I put Buffalo in it, but I don't like anybody else from the AFC East. The NFC West, it's hard to find 7 teams. It's really hard to find 7 playoff teams. I went Philadelphia as the 1 seed, Detroit as the 2. 49ers is the 3 seed, Tampa Bay is the 4, Green Bay is the 5, Seattle is the 6, and the Rams is the 7. Now, let me tell you how flawed my NFC predictions are, okay? Number 1, is Detroit really going to repeat and be that good again? I think so, but I don't know that. San Francisco as my 3. I have the theory. You heard me talking about it when it comes to fantasy football with Rich earlier this week, and I think Brad last week, that my belief is Christian McCaffrey is good on odd years because it takes him a year to recover from a good year. So with a healthy Christian McCaffrey, I think the 49ers make the playoffs. I think they win the division. However, they don't have the receiving core that they've had for a while now. So I could easily be wrong there. I don't like anybody in the South. I like Tampa Bay more than anybody else, but somebody has to make the playoffs and has to be the 4 seed. So I don't care about the 4 seed. That's Tampa Bay. Plug in your own South team if you want to, but you're not going to convince me that another South team is making the playoffs. So there's only one. I got Green Bay as the best wild card team. I feel pretty good about that pick. Seattle and the Rams, I feel terrible about. Washington made it to an NFC championship game. I don't have Washington in the playoffs. But when I look at Washington, even though I'm a fan and I'll be rooting for them, I told you what I thought of Jaden Daniels. I thought he was going to be the number 1, the best quarterback in last year's draft. But I wouldn't take him because I think he's going to be RG3, get hurt in year 2. So I like Bo Nix better, even though I think Daniels is the best quarterback in the draft. So I have to stick with, not only do I have to stick with that prediction, I still believe it. I also think that whenever you have a long hold in or hold out, you almost always get hurt when you come back. Brandon Ayuk did it with the 49ers. I can just go on forever of guys that get hurt when they hold out or hold in. Well, Terry McLaurin, their number 1 threat, was a massive hold in. So I'm looking at his potential injuries. Seattle is a stretch, but would you have predicted, I think the Vikings record was 14-3. Can I sell you on that last year? That's has a lot to do with Sam Darnold. Sure, he did choke in the playoffs, but Sam Darnold had a good year. Why can't he have another good year in Seattle? And I'm not saying 14 wins, but get them into the playoffs. I kind of like that prediction, but I understand how many holes there are. Does Seattle really intimidate you? Do you really think they're that good? The Rams, I have a different opinion on. If Matthew Stafford isn't healthy, they're done, okay? Then I don't put the Rams in the playoffs then. But I kind of feel like they're a pool shark. All this talk about Matthew Stafford being, and I don't know. I think Matthew Stafford's going to have a decent season, and I think they're pulling our leg a little bit. And oh, by the way, despite McVay being from the school we do not speak of, he's been the Rams head coach for 8 years. This is year 9 for him. In the 8 years he's been head coach, he wins the division 50% of the time, and he goes to the playoffs 75% of the time. Now, granted, he's had Matthew Stafford, but he's also had Jared Goff. So I look at those stats and say, I don't feel comfortable keeping the Rams out of the playoffs. And that leaves no Cardinals. But listen to all the flaws. I mean, other than Philly, and the fact that you have to put Tampa, you have to put a South team in. Other than those two teams, I think we would all feel good that Detroit is in the playoffs, whether they win the division or not, they're in it. So let's go Philly, Detroit, and someone from the South. They're in. Those are 4 spots, San Francisco, Green Bay, Seattle, and the Rams, that could easily be Washington, the Cardinals, the Bears, and maybe J.J. McCarthy with the Vikings has a good season in the Vikings. I mean, I could be 0 for 4 on those predictions. I accept that. I'm explaining that that's why that's Doug's big one is I look at the Cardinals and say they are too flawed to be a playoff team. Kyler Murray does not see coverage, does not get the ball out on time. I don't think he's a playoff caliber quarterback. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a bona fide number 1 wide receiver 1 on almost any team. And I think Michael Wilson is wide receiver 3. I think they have a massive hole at the second wide receiver spot. And no, I don't think Trey Benson fills that spot as wide receiver 2. He's weapon number 1 or weapon number 2. But I think they need another wide receiver. I don't think they've done nearly enough at inside linebacker. I don't think they've done nearly enough at corner. And I think they're barely holding on at outside linebacker. I totally support Monty Williams and Jonathan Gannon. I think they're good at their jobs. I just think the team was so decimated by the regime of Keim, Cliff, and Bidwill that you're not going to be able to fix it in just 2 years. They're going to be close this year. Now that I've explained it to you, do you kind of understand why, even though, let's rip me, okay, Doug's big one, that's soft. I don't see it here, but I see it here. Oh, that's entertaining. You're a top-notch talk show host, dude. Okay, I mean, I get the rip job. But now that I've explained it, don't you kind of see, yeah? Cardinals aren't good enough to make the playoffs. But nobody else in the NFC, there aren't 7 teams good enough to keep them out. So if you've got the Cardinals in the playoffs, you're not crazy. Now, I talk gambling about me gambling predictions and conversations at the end of the show. And I actually do that for religious purposes and for content purposes. There are some people that just don't care about gambling. And they don't even want it in their life. You know what I mean? So I usually keep it till the end. The one time I do talk about it in the heart of the show is within the concept of these people get fired when they're wrong. So we can always use a Vegas model to find out what Vegas is thinking. People that listen, here in Phoenix, if you're a bad weather person, you still have a job if you're attractive. Now, in Vegas, they don't care how ugly you are or how beautiful you are. If your odds are bad, you lose the casino money, you're fired. The Cardinals are the best team with positive juice available. Now, if you're not a gambler, you're going, okay, what in the world does that mean? What that means is there's negative juice, there's positive juice. It is how much you have to spend to win $100 or how much your $100 will give you. So for an example, the Bengals are minus 150 to make the playoffs. So what that means is you bet $150, you win $100 back. When you go to the roulette wheel, you put $5 down on black, it hits, you get $5 back. It's an even swap. Well, in other gambling like this, they set the odds based on what they think is going to happen. So to them, with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, that team, we're not going to give you even money on whether or not the Bengals make the playoffs. We think they're going to make the playoffs too. So it's minus 150. So you got to spend $150 to win 50. The worst team with negative juice is the Minnesota Vikings. It's basically going to cost you $5 to put the bet down. So it's minus 105. So you spend $105. Minnesota makes the playoffs. You get 100. Then it's the Cardinals as the first positive team. You bet 100, you get plus 120. You get $120 back. The next one is the Steelers at plus 142. Bet 100, get 142 back. So the reason why I'm explaining that to you is the line in the sand for Vegas is drawn between the Vikings as the 7 seed and the Cardinals as the 7 seed. Basically, like one of these two teams are getting in, and they're going to duke it out. And Minnesota's at minus 105, and the Cardinals are at plus 120. For them, they have Philly, they have San Francisco, they have Green Bay, they have Detroit, they have Tampa Bay, they have the Rams, and they have Washington and Minnesota. So according to them, a quick math of what I just counted, they've got 8 NFC teams as negative juice to make the playoffs. Almost like they're saying 8 teams are making it when there's 7 spots. So they have the Cardinals as the 9th best team. So even Vegas is saying we don't see them as a playoff team. But what a lot of bettors like to do is they like to find value. To them, that's part of gambling, is finding the value. So they might look at the Cardinals and say, that's a really good bet. To bet 100 and get 120 when the Rams are ahead of them with Matthew Stafford's back, with the Washington Commanders ahead of them with a second-year player and Terry McLaurin potentially being banged up. That's really interesting to me. Now, here's the thing about Minnesota. This is a little bit of a shocker to me that you are actually putting J.J. McCarthy ahead of the Cardinals. What does that tell you about Kyler? I mean, think about what Vegas is saying when they put a quote-unquote rookie. Yes, he's had all year to learn the system, but a rookie ahead of Kyler, and Vegas thinks Minnesota has a better chance to make the playoffs. Now that I've explained it, now that I've shown you what Vegas says, aren't you kind of like, yeah, it's a pretty good Doug's Big One, even though you still embarrassed yourself? Which kind of makes me talking to myself if I say that. Why drive somewhere to get your oil changed? Now, obviously, if you live your entire life on the west side and you never do anything on the east side, I get it. But if you're ever within 25 miles of Santan Ford, you don't have to lift a muscle. You are shopping, you are eating pizza, you're doing something. Okay? For me, I was at Trophy Bar having rigatoni with Sweet Lou of Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. And out front, there's a guy changing my oil from Santan Ford. He comes in, I have a beer, I put my beer down, I sign the contract, I give him my credit card, it's done. I never got up. And it didn't waste me any time because I wasn't ready to leave yet anyway. It's brilliant. The mobile unit, Santan Ford, you can schedule it online at santanford.com, or if you want to call just because you want to talk to somebody and ask questions, the service department phone number is at the top of the website, dead middle. You can call and set up your appointment with the mobile unit at Santan Ford. I am Santan Ford. Got a lot of Cardinals to do, and it's already 5:17 now, so I don't know how I'm going to get done in 30 minutes and then get the podcast up, but we got to move. But I think I'm going to blow through the 6 o'clock because I still want to just spend time with you and not feel rushed. Jonathan Gannon, thanks to Cardinals on YouTube, had a lot. He went deep once or twice, but not a lot. But I still really enjoyed listening to a lot of what he said. And one of them, now that we're embarking on the season, is where would he say Kyler has improved the most?
Command, comfortability, understanding the why. He gets better every snap he takes. He really does. So, playmaking. That's. I know he's a playmaker. Let's make him.
Players and coaches both talk a lot about understanding the why. Why is it important to understand the why?
Because then you play with accelerated vision. So when you understand what's going on with all the other 21 guys on the field, it can accelerate your thought process and decision making. You play a little bit faster, play a little bit better.
That was Teo Mackey's voice in there if you didn't quite understand it when he says, what's important about the why? Why is it important that he understands the why of the play? And the real specifics there are every play is designed to stress somebody defensively, make somebody make a choice, try to do something where the defense has a hard time getting everybody covered. You have route concepts that are built on trying to fool a safety on where the help is going to need to go, or fool a linebacker whether or not we're going to make you get depth so far that we can easily throw it underneath, or we're going to try to keep you close to the formation so you don't get depth and we throw it over your head but in front of the safety. Those are the stressors that you're trying to do offensively. And if you truly understand why this play is constructed in this way, why it's coached in this way, and why it's called at this particular time, then you'll kind of understand a lot better. Kind of a lot better? That's weird. You will understand much better what the goal of the play is. So you then, I love how he said that, you play faster. I know we're trying to stress out the free safety on this play. So I'm going to check that free safety. And maybe I don't have to sit and stare down the receivers. I'm just looking at the free safety. And the free safety runs up. Okay, that means I got the deep shot available. I don't have to look. I just throw it up the seam because that's where the receiver's supposed to be. But if the free safety doesn't come down, now that he stays high, I know my deep shot isn't open. But this is the receiver, whoever it might be, Trey McBride, let's say, who's coming into that vacated area underneath the safety. So since the safety took a big drop, we're going to throw it in front of him right here to Trey McBride. We're going to get that check down, which is kind of an interesting lead into a Peyton Manning, Kyler Murray conversation. Somebody asked Kyler, you said you wanted to work on the boring, embracing the boring aspects of being a quarterback. How are you feeling that you're doing on that?
That's just the maturation of the game. As you get older, talking to Peyton in Denver, just those type of things. You really cherish those, the check downs, the throwing the ball away, or taking a sack when you need to, or not taking a sack when you just the little nuances of the position that when you're a rookie, second year guy, you don't really understand. You're in college, you don't understand. So just being in that being in that position now as an older dude, knowing what we're trying to accomplish. So again, not always trying to make the flashy play, and I think just keeping the offense on schedule will be fine.
number one, I tried to do my best to take out that noise, but Kyler keeps pounding on the table, which shakes the microphone. So that's why you hear that weird noise going on. I took some of them out, but if it interrupted his voice and you couldn't hear him, then I left them in. Which is another reason why it's already 5:22 in the morning, and it takes me a while to do the show sometimes, so I'm trying to take that stuff out. What he was saying there, if you're a big Cardinals fan and you're nice enough to listen to me, you respect my opinion, but you hope I'm dead wrong about the Cardinals, that would be a reason why you're right. That would be a reason why I end up wrong and the Cardinals are a playoff team, and quite frankly, a good team then. If Kyler truly has learned, read the defense, take the shot when it's there, not because you see the guy open and then throw it. Take the shot because you see the coverage dictates that's where the ball goes. And you put it in a spot for the big shot, great, hit it. But if it's not there, go through your progressions. And if it's the check down, it's the check down. And what that really means is, I love the way Jeff Van Rapphorst would explain this to me. The only quarterback at ASU to win a Rose Bowl would be nice enough on road trips when I used to be the Arizona State sideline reporter to sit with me, watch film, show me stuff, teach me the game. And he explained it as it's very binary. And gosh, I know I've said this a lot over the last 3.5 years, so sorry to repeat the story. But binary is in, what does a computer think? 1 0, 1 0. Okay, it's yes or no, whatever. You look at receiver 1. Is he open? Yes, no. If the answer is no, we don't keep looking at receiver 1. We go to the second progression. Boom, we go to the third progression. Boom, we go to the fourth progression. And the first one that's open, get him the ball. Now, we also don't want a straight progression quarterback. We want a quarterback that's going to be able to see the coverage from the beginning and say, wait a minute, my fourth progression guy, I just noticed the backside corner is way off of him and there's no way the safety can get all the way over there. If he is able to get a good fake, I'm going to check him really quick. I might give him the ball right now. Boom. And that's why some receivers, they look shocked. They think because they're not competitors, I'm the fourth progression, I'm going to show it in my route. Like, I'm not going to run as hard, or I'm not really going to pay attention because I don't expect the ball. And all of a sudden it hits them in the helmet, which I love when that happens, to be honest. But that's how the progression works. So if Kyler is truly this year going to look, boom, get rid of it, this team will be much better. One of Kyler's great failings is he doesn't see coverage well enough to put the ball on a spot based on where someone should be open. And then number 2, he gets bored with the check down and wants to hit the big shot. So he sees the check down is open in his progression, but he doesn't throw it because he wants to wait a little bit longer to see if somebody gets open. And that's when you get sacked, or that's when you throw an interception because the guy that was the check down is no longer open, but you think he is. So you throw it late. And now somebody gets hands on it, it gets tipped. Everybody says, oh, it's not Kyler's fault because it was a tipped ball. When truthfully, if he would have thrown the check down at the moment the progression dictated, it wouldn't have been tipped. And it wouldn't have been an interception. And that's the job of the quarterback. And I like how he says, I talked to Peyton, and that's how we win. If I do that. Listen, if he truly is, if he's not just yapping, and he means it, he will be a different quarterback. Next question was about his relationship with Marvin Harrison and how the chemistry has grown throughout the offseason and the expectations for 2025.
Honestly, I would say communication, and understanding what he's thinking and him understanding what I'm thinking. But, I think as a rookie, hell, he might have been scared of me. I don't know what he, like it just. You had to get to know him a little bit. He's got to feel comfortable with you, and just we had to go through the fire kind of to get that relationship to keep going and keep making strides off the field. That way we could feel each other on and off the field as far as what he's thinking, what I'm thinking. But no, man, me and Marv are in a great place. Honestly, night and day from when we drafted him to now. He'll start conversations with me. I don't got to beg him to talk to me or anything like that. So no, I love where we're at. Now it's just time to go execute.
That was funny that he never started a conversation with me, and now we talk and we're together. So when Marvin Harrison was asked about those comments that, hey, Kyler thought at times you might have been scared of him, he got a laugh out of it and didn't really deny it.
Definitely, like I said, I think we kind of have more similar personalities, but I'm definitely more reserved, so it kind of takes me a while to get out of my shell a little bit, but definitely the relationship is a lot better now. Not that it was bad before, but just, I was a little quiet then.
So there he is. The relationship is better. And then there's kind of an underdog role here. Like I said, I think Michael Wilson's a number 3 receiver, not a number 2 receiver. But Zay Flowers is an experienced veteran that's had some good years in this league. Not great. He wouldn't be available if he was a great receiver. But I wonder if there's something there. If you want another reason why I'm wrong and the Cardinals make the playoffs, is Zay Flowers has a good year. Here's Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah, I think, he does his job. He's in the right spot. He can play 3 spots. He's fast. He's explosive. Really good contested catch guy. So I'm looking forward to seeing him impact us.
May I recant for a second? The whole time I was saying, it's so funny. My notes right here on what I call the sound. So I have this thing on my laptop that's got all of the sound cuts I want to play today. And it says JG, Zay Jones. And for some reason, I was trying to bring Zay Flowers from the Ravens onto the team. The guy spent 90 seconds? Zay Flowers, Zay Flowers, Zay Flowers. And then I played JG Zay Jones, which probably fits the team a little bit more because that's who actually plays for the team, is Zay Jones. But you get my point. Zay Flowers had a much better career than Zay Jones. But Zay Jones, available, and I think he could do a lot better. Plus the suspension last year, maybe things just never got rolling. That's a dramatic change to the offense if he has a good season. Somebody asked Kyler about kind of like opening day. Yes, it's just one game out of 17, but do you get any extra juice? You get extra excitement? Are you fired up for this specific Sunday?
Year 7 for me, so I think, when younger, the anxiety and, the anticipation for how's it going to be, what's it going to look like, how am I going to do this, how are we going to score, all those things that, you think about and come into question as the week goes on and the game gets closer. But, I feel like I'm in a place of where now, it's just be where your feet are. Today's Wednesday. That's all I can control is Wednesday. I'm not really worried about Sunday. I know JG just, he's told that to the guys, but that's genuinely where I was initially because you get so worked up, trying to anticipate how well you're going to play, what coverages you're going to see, who's going to do what, and all these things. It's like you can't even worry about all that stuff. You just focus be where your feet are and focus on today, and let Sunday come when Sunday comes.
Again, same thing as before. If this is who he is, that's a big change. I'm buying the fact that he's trying, but I'm gonna take the opinion of the great American philosopher Mike Tyson. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. He's saying everything exactly right. You can feel the maturity. This is the quarterback the Cardinals have been waiting for in the way he's handling the situation. But will he be able to do it on game day? And then there's the fact that they do have that joke schedule, which should help them immensely. Saints, Carolina to start the season? Come on. And you've got to take advantage of that one. Now, based on that answer that, he's not as anxious, he doesn't think about the the numbers that he's hoping to put up that year, Kyler was asked a question about, sure, it's about winning, but do you have any offensive goals? Do you have any aspirations? Are there any big numbers that you want to put up? And he gave the standard team answer. And this was really weird. No, I don't care about the numbers. It's all about team. I don't care about the numbers. It's all about team. And then someone followed up and said, was there a time in your career where you did care about the numbers? And he goes, oh, yeah, we all do. Meaning now. I was like, well, wait a minute. I thought it wasn't about the numbers.
Honestly, just trying to go out there and execute. Like I said, I just said it. I'm not really trying to envision how many passing yards I'm going to have, rushing yards, and all that stuff. I'm just trying to go out there and execute. What it looks like at the end of the game, all that really matters is a win. So that's the focus.
Earlier in your career, did you think about numbers in that way? Has that changed?
I mean, we all do. We all still do. It's just what it is. We all have goals and aspirations in this game. But understanding every award I've won was on the back burner. And win the Heisman, that was a team award. I just ended up winning it because obviously I was a quarterback and I made plays, but I wasn't focused on doing that. All of that stuff comes as your team wins.
He kind of saves himself though, right? Still weird, but he does kind of save himself. So I'll give him a little bit of room. I did like this answer though. He was asked about, okay, it's starting a new season. Expectations are high. The pressure of getting rolling. How are you feeling? And then Kyler kind of jumped in and said,
honestly, I don't really feel pressure. I don't know if I told you that, but I trust the work that I put in, and God gives the abilities, and I just go out there and play. Like I said earlier, the anxieties of, just what's to come, and there is a certain pressure around just in the world. Oh, football's here. Everybody's excited to see what everybody's going to do, but try to ignore that as much as possible. Just block it all out and be, like I said, be where my feet are. Yeah, just hone in on that, to be honest, because all of it's just distractions. It's just a lot of distractions that take away from the individual playing the game's mental and what we really have to do, and let's go out there and execute.
You may wonder why I do the podcast this way. Why do I play what we call sound in the business so much? The reason why I do it is I think there are so many hints and clues based on who guys are, what their goal is, where they're going, and what's going to happen based on what they say and how they handle questions. And we learn about their personalities to know what they're good enough to overcome and what they can't handle. And I don't think enough talk show hosts do that. Not blasting anybody. I just don't think there's enough outlets that really understands how much you can learn from the player talking. And I admit, Kyler had a good presser. Some of the things he's saying really relates. And I even accept that about not feeling the pressure. And I don't think he means the defensive pressure. I mean, he doesn't feel it from the outside. Now, that would also be growth because early on in his career, he was a social media dude. He did freak out when people didn't agree with him. The Kyler clause really got to him. I work, and then I've got this, and I'm the only one that was drafted here. And, that really got him worked up. But now, it sounds like a more mature version. He was asked if he remembers the last time he had a game in New Orleans against the Saints.
Watching Drew Brees, and really, you're in awe. Obviously he is who he is, and me being a rookie trying to really just soak up, just watching him from afar my whole life, and then being able to see it up close, but at the same time being in the game and trying to win. But at that time, I remember shit was moving so fast, and it was like what do they say, 1,000 cuts by death or something like that. Like, it wasn't anything special, but I want to say we got beat pretty handedly. But just watching him, it wasn't like 60-yard bomb here. So it was just he just did his job the whole way down the field. They ended up putting the ball in the end zone, and we didn't. That was I do remember that day though.
It's funny. There's one aspect of that game that I remember clearly. And it was actually the day after. It was Monday. every time I would go after a coach for what I thought was a bad decision, Wolf would almost always get mad at me, making it sound like I like I would outcoach the coach. To me, I never sounded like that. If you think that, then that's a negative on me. When I explain massive coaching or managerial mistakes, it's two things. A, it's my opinion, clearly. And two, that doesn't mean I wouldn't have made 9 different ones and that guy outcoaches me. It just means on this one issue, I say that guy's dead wrong. And I do think we in the media have a role to hold them accountable. Well, in that game, I remember somewhere around the their own 34-yard line, or as they say in football, the minus 34-yard line, Cliff Kingsbury decided to go for it. And Cliff Kingsbury, he used to pretend to be this analytic genius. And I always shook my head of so many times to go for it when they were in positive territory and they would kick a field goal. But then out of nowhere, they might go for it on their own 33. And the game was kind of muddling along. The Saints were by far better than the Cardinals, but they were not playing well. And suddenly, Cliff goes for it on 4th down from like his own 34. And that got the Saints going. Who Dat Nation started being so loud in the stadium. The defense was all fired up. How dare you go for it on your own 30, whatever it was. And they smacked the Cardinals in the face. And then from that play on, it was over. And Cliff Kingsbury totally woke up the sleeping giant. I still look at that and say, an idiotic decision. A terrible, terrible coaching decision. And that's also where analytics are such a failure. Yes, I said that. Use analytics as a guide, but understand the game that you're in. If you are far and away the better team and your team is asleep, I kind of like the idea that you go for it. Hey, we're better. Wake up. Let's go. But in the Cardinals case, the Saints were much better than they were. Don't wake them up. Just punt and let's go through the next series. And no. Keep them asleep. And Cliff totally woke them up and they got destroyed. So I went off on that and Wolf said, yeah, I agree with you, Douglas. And I swear, I totally feel like in the 12 years we were together at that point, or maybe it was 11, I don't remember, whatever year it was. That was like the first time he was like, yeah, I agree with you. When I'm ripping a coach for a decision, like, wow, what just happened here? I was all excited. Like I never said anything to get his approval, but I admit on that one, I was pretty happy that I did. This was interesting. Somebody just asked a simple question. Speaking of going to New Orleans, like Kyler was just asked, somebody asked Jonathan Gannon, hey, travel the same way? Well, since Ken Wisenhunt, the Cardinals have always left 2 days ahead of time when they have a 2 or 3 hour time difference to get the body clock used to the time difference. And this time with a 2 hour difference this time of year between Mountain Standard Time and Central Daylight Time, which is what New Orleans is on. Jonathan Gannon says, no, we're not leaving a day early. We're leaving Saturday.
Yeah, we're going to make it a 1 day. So we changed our normal 1 day schedule when you're not flying across time zones. They're Central Time, so 2 hours ahead of us. But so we tweaked it a little bit. We looked at it, talked to the experts about that. It is a little bit of a change for us how we've handled that before the time change for our first 2 years here. We typically made that a 2 day. We're making it a 1 day. So talked to our guys about, this was last Thursday, about the advantages of how we're doing it and the disadvantages and how to negate the disadvantages of it. So I feel good where we're at.
To me right there, that simple thing is good coaching. They're admitting there's positives and negatives to each decision of when to fly out. And okay, let's hit this point blank. Here are the negatives. So then here's what we need to do. We can't make those negatives go away, but here's what we can do to diffuse their impact. That stuff can't happen if you don't talk about it. So I like that. Let's get into a little more X's and O's. I really liked the Jonathan Gannon honesty with this question. He was asked about the subject matter you and I talked about yesterday, Kellen Moore being very complimentary to Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rallis and the defense that they have. And then the guy brought it up, but I admit I thought it was a cheesy question to ask if Jonathan Gannon, is that do you appreciate that? Does that mean something to you that Kellen Moore is complimenting something that you do? And you could tell Jonathan Gannon's like, I'm not messing with his coach speak when I can double down on my own.
I have a high opinion of Kellen. If you go back and look at my track record against him, it's not good, truthfully. He's always had really good offenses. He's very creative. I love it. It makes it really hard on a defense how he calls the game. He's been a couple different stops, and his offense is playing a way that's hard to defend. It really is, and not just because he's got good players. Take that out of it. Schematically. He's hard to defend. The pace that he plays with is hard to defend. It puts you on your heels, and he's always been ahead of me. So we got our work cut out for it. Now I'm not calling the game, so it's a little bit different. But I got a high opinion of Kellen. And then again, the hard thing is when you look when he's in Dallas or the Chargers or Philly. Those are all different, players and different teams. Like he's good because he. When he's got to step on the gas because he needs to, he does. When he doesn't need to step on the gas, he doesn't. I don't know if that's a good analogy or not, but I guess my point is he plays the way that he feels he needs to play to win the game, with the people that he has to who he's going against. And he's creative and he adapts and he typically designs it the right way. You look back, the part of learning, coaches aren't always right how they design a game plan, and I feel like whenever I played him, he was always right. Thought I was going to be in this, and sure as hell I was in that, and he got me. You know what I mean? So he's good. He's really good. There's no wonder he's a head coach, and he's a big time quarterback. He's a stud.
Do you think that was as open as I did? I mean, sorry that it was 2 minutes long, but gosh, that was interesting. This guy's got he just admitted it. Like, I don't normally hear Jonathan Gannon talk like that. He got my number. He thought I'd be in this, and I was in it. He got me. And he knows how to use his people to set up matchups to expose our people. Like every coach, I should say every coach, most coaches know where they're weak. And then what they have to do to try to hide that fact. So then let's flip it around. Even though Jonathan Gannon is a defensive guy looking at the Cardinals offense, do you remember Brandon Staley? He's a Chargers coach for about 4 years or so before Jim Harbaugh took over. Staley is the defensive coordinator of the Saints. So what does JG say about a Saints defense, about any defense coached by Brandon Staley?
They disguise really well. Multiplicity. They take away the ball. They tackle well. And they try to make it hard on the quarterback. They do a good job of affecting the quarterback.
I like how he said multiplicity. What I'm assuming he means by that is they are good at multiple things. Like every defense has different coverages. Unless we're talking about the Legion of Boom. The Legion of Boom played cover 3 all the time. And it was just drop 3 guys back, and Richard Sherman's a zone corner. He's right on top of you in his zone. There you go. If you're lined up on that side of the field, he's lined up on you. Here we go. And what was special about the Seahawks when they did that is it was really simple. Our players are more than likely better than yours, and we know exactly what we're doing. We know how to be great in this, and we know our players are better, so why overcomplicate it? Now, if you forget, When you see cover 0, cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, just think of it as how many outfielders are there. Cover 0 means everybody who's not covering someone is blitzing the quarterback. So we have 0 outfielders. It's seriously like the bases are loaded and you've got Luis Gonzalez at the plate and it's game 7 of the 0-1 World Series. We might as well bring all the outfielders in too. Everybody's in. There's no reason for you to be out there. Now, of course, with 2 outs, he might hit a fly ball, so of course you want to go catch it. But the point is everybody's in. There's no outfielders. Cover 3, which is what the Seahawks did in the Legion of Boom days, is they basically had 3 outfielders, divide the field in 3. Down the middle, left side, right side. And there's one guy back there helping out. So you knew what you were doing. The Brandon Staley defense, multiplicity, meaning they're good at different things, good at different coverages, good at things that are polar opposites sometimes, whether it be the zone blitz scheme from the Steelers or whether it be a Pete Carroll type of cover 3. I don't know what Brandon Staley is good at. I got to learn that myself. It was a deep dive. Hopefully you enjoyed everything Cardinals-wise. We still have Diamondbacks to talk about. I still have some odds and ends, and it's already 5:55 in the morning, so I'm not really sorry, I have to admit. I would not have done anything different than spend time with my daughter and make sure that she was safe last night, but it really put me behind the 8 ball, and I'm sorry about that. But I don't want to sound rushed. I really learned something the other day when I felt rushed and just kind of piecemealed together a show, and I don't think that was good. So I feel terrible that it's late, but I still just want to have a normal conversation with you, and that's why I'm not sounding rushed. So let's do D-backs next. They deserve it. On Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. You know what time it is. It's summer in Arizona. You've got to have the Parker & Sons phone number ready to go. Air conditioning in Phoenix is too important to trust anybody but the best. Parker & Sons were recommended to us when we first moved here. That was 17 years ago. They've been on time every time. They've gotten it right the first time, every time. Call 602-2REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons.
It's big, it's juicy, it's meaty. Get your burrito at Burrito Express. If you're having a hangover, a bad day, even a good day, still get your burrito at Burrito Express. It will make you feel better.
Ouch! Found a zit. I was scratching. I'm still itchy from where that guy shaved me for my stress test. And I was just scratching and all of a sudden found a zit and just ripped it right off. Yeah, I have my shirt on. I just scratched right through the cotton, I guess. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but when I keep score for a baseball game, I use different colors. So green means somebody scored or an RBI. Red means a fantastic defensive play. There are 5 spots. Well, really 6 spots of red ink on my scorecard from last night's Diamondbacks game. D-backs a winner 2-0. They score 1 in the first inning off of an RBI single from Gabby Moreno. And then McCarthy, you know what? I have to cheat and look and see if he got an RBI because I think he should have gotten an RBI. And the reason why I say that I don't know is he got on base by an error. But it wasn't the second out, or it wouldn't have been the third out. Like if that error would have been the third out and the inning's over, you don't get an RBI. But I'm pretty confident since that was the second out, the error is in place of him hitting a ground out, but the RBI still happens. So do you mind if I cheat and look that up and look at the box score and see if Jake McCarthy got an RBI yesterday? I want to check McCarthy, 1 RBI. Okay, so he did get it. So he's at the plate in the bottom of the second inning, and you've got Alek Thomas after a walk on third. No, he didn't walk to third. He went to third on a base hit by Locklear. Great base running, by the way, to get there. Yeah, that was a crazy play. Locklear gets a single to center. Alek Thomas's foot hits second base at about the same time the center fielder gets the ball. And Alek Thomas still went to third and made it on a bang-bang play. That was in your face base running right there. So now because of that, he's on third. And McCarthy hits a rocket to first that should have been fielded, wasn't, and now Alek Thomas scores. And I'm telling you, it is a dramatic difference between a 1-0 game and a 2-0 game. So the idea that the Diamondbacks get their run on aggressive base running and bad defense, flip that over when I tell you, if you didn't see the game, about everything I want to tell you about the Diamondbacks defense. Cody Freeman at the plate leading off the second inning, deep in the hole to Perdomo, and he bounces a throw to Locklear, who scoops it out. So I got red ink on 6-3. Third inning, swinging bunt from Wyatt Langford, barely rolls away from the plate, but he got a good jump. Great hustle. Gabby Moreno scoops it up, throws him out. So I got red ink on the 2 for the put out 2-3. Very next play, deep in the hole to Ketel Marte's left. He made a stellar play. Fantastic play. And threw out Jock Peterson. I realize Peterson's slow, but it was great. 2 outs, top of the 4th. Cody Freeman again gets robbed on a sinking line drive to right that is tracked down with a great jump by Corbin Carroll. Then in the top of the 9th inning, Perdomo makes another great play in order to cut down a leadoff walk at second base and get the force out. And that was, I shouldn't say leadoff, strikeout first, then a leadoff walk. Yeah, the leadoff walk was the second hitter. Let's try this a third time. Take 3. Strikeout of Freeman. Osuna comes to the plate as the second hitter in the inning and walks. Then Duran flies out. So now there are 2 outs, runner on first, and that is when Moore comes up, hits into the fielder's choice that is greatly fielded by Geraldo Perdomo. So the defense was great. Fun game to watch. Let's get to some of the Torey Lovullo stuff. I'm going to skip ahead from his opening statement, okay? Because I want to talk about the defense. Oh, actually, do I have that? No. So Torey Lovullo had a bunch of things to say. A couple people asked him questions, and then I asked the last question. And I thought their defense yesterday was amazing, and it still makes me want to beat my head against the wall about April. So I asked him about April, which is kind of a violation. Like, you don't ask a manager about April in September when he's focused on the now. But when I see defense that good, I think it's fair to ask, what happened? Listen to how honest his answer was.
Yeah, we stunk. Our April defense stunk. It migrated into May. We started to climb a little bit in May, and it's unsatisfactory. I don't like that. I like clean, fast baseball. You know, it put us behind in a lot of different situations. We save outs when we play that type of defense. You know, the error that Jerry was charged with was a little bit of a tough handsy play, but he's been unbelievable. He's been outstanding. So it's everybody covering ground, using footwork. You know, the play that Jerry made yesterday that went totally unnoticed was like a little quick hop. He kind of dragged his feet a little bit to keep momentum going. Those are things that are just God-given, and these guys have they have a nose for the baseball. But overall, I can't put my finger on it. I've thought a lot about how to prepare these guys in a spring training scenario next spring, so we don't have that type in April. I want us to play better baseball for sure.
Really interesting that he's going there, because I specifically remember, and I even want to talk to him about it. They were good defensively in the spring. I went to most of their games. There was like one game in February. I was like, what is going on here? It was bad. But everything else, they were good defensively. I don't think you can recreate it in spring training to get them to play better defense in April. I think it was a lack of focus in April, a lack of urgency. I think it's it's a marathon, not a sprint. Everything's going to be okay. It'll be okay. We're going to be a better team tomorrow. No, you won't until you get this fixed. Until you get urgent about it now, you won't be better. But it was interesting to hear him say, I've been racking my brain. He's been thinking about that exact question all year. So I liked hearing him open up about it. You heard him say that error on Jerry. Geraldo Perdomo actually had 2 errors. One was a legitimate baseball error. One is a baseball rule. But it's also an incredible defensive play that we don't get to really talk about. There was an out on the bases that I had to scratch out that was just absolutely phenomenal. Oh, wrong score sheet. That says Diamondbacks 1-5-3. I was grabbing yesterday. And there it is. There was a scenario where Duran was at first base, and there's a grounder to third. And Blaze Alexander makes the play, looks the runner back to second, and throws it across the diamond. Or no, had to charge it. So since he had to charge the ball, sorry that I butchered that. Since Blaze had to charge the ball, Duran rounds second and just motors right on to third. Because he's thinking 2 things. Number one, you had to charge the ball, so you're not going to throw it to second, so I don't need to slide. Number 2, you're not there to cover third. As soon as Blaze charged the ball, Gabby Moreno broke from home to cover third. Locklear catches the ball, foot on the bag, batter is out, rifles a throw over to third. And an incredibly athletic play, Moreno catches the ball, tags Duran, he's out at third. That defense, oh my gosh, that jacks me up. It's beautiful because you have high IQ defense. Third baseman's coming in, I've got to go out as the catcher and cover third. And here comes Gabby. High IQ play. High hustle play by Blaze. Perfect execution by Locklear to throw it. And then the athleticism of Gabby to catch it and get the tag. That is so cool to get that kind of double play. The old standard 5-4-2 or 5-3-2 double play. But when Duran rounded second, he bumped into Geraldo Perdomo. That's obstruction. And that's an error because the ruling is he's out, but because of the obstruction, you get second, you get the next base, and you have to charge someone an error because it's their fault a player got a base that wasn't earned by a base hit. That's or a walk or something. That's why it's an error. And Jack Summers, friend of the program, was asked a good question of Torrey to explain what he heard on the obstruction call.
Perdomo was just kind of running into the lane to get a better feel for where he could address what was going to be taking place on the play, and he just got in the way. The runner initiated contact. There doesn't necessarily need to be contact. There just has to be if it's a block that the umpire considers a hindrance for the runner to get the next base, and it's a full out sprint to the base and it's a bang bang play, he has a chance to call obstruction. So the umpire got it right.
It almost felt like he went knowing that he would get the obstruction call.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that to you?
A little bit. I watched it on high overhead for 3 seconds, so I haven't had a chance to look at it. But on that play, it's very tricky. If he's thrown out by 12 to 15, 18 feet, he's not protected. If it's considered a bang-bang play the way it was, he is protected. So it's a little bit of a risk, because if that ball is retrieved a little bit quicker or thrown a little bit quicker and he's out by from me to the back of the room, he's going to be declared out. But because it was so close, they had to protect him.
I was glad he explained that. I consider myself a rules geek, and I didn't know that little part of the rule, that if you're thrown out by 12 or 15 feet, it negates the obstruction, because they're saying you weren't obstructed that bad to get thrown out like that. So we're not going to let you just arbitrarily run into somebody and say, hey, I freely get to go to the next base. I didn't know that. I thought, boom, you run into somebody and you quote unquote do it on accident, then it's his fault for not clearing the baseline. It's a good error to know about. Perdomo screwed up. You've got to be focused. He's at least doing the right thing of trying to come in and cover second. But you can't come in and cover second at the angle of the baseline. And that's exactly what he did. But man, what a game. What a game. Okay, here's more of Torrey on his opening statement. And it's a lot about Zach Allen, because Zach Allen was great.
This had a typical Zach Allen feel to it. He was out there executing pitches. I think he was driving his fastball in some counts where he's typically soft, so the sequencing was good. That you could tell by some of the takes that the Ranger players had that there was strategy to what they were going to do, and I think Zach did a really good job of counterpunching. But he was really aggressive in the zone. I know the pitch count climbed a little bit. I had a scenario in my head where he's going to go 7 strong, but we clipped him at 6 strong, and the bullpen went out there and took over and preserved the shutout. Anytime you shut out an offensive team like that, they're very capable of scoring runs. You're doing a lot of things right. So the matchups were favorable. Everything seemed to unwind the way we wanted it to.
Yeah, the bullpen came in. You might have heard me say it in 3-minute offense, 4-minute offense. Thompson, there's no such phrase as 3-minute offense. Thompson, Curtis, Sal Frank, and Woodford all came in and finished the last 3 innings. They didn't give up a run either. Another reason why it was such a good game. I got a chance to ask Zach Gallen afterwards what's going on, because he has pitched a lot better. And my question wasn't that great, but he handled it well, saying, it's a combination of everything. But what I liked about it is listen to what he says about his fastball. If you can't quite hear me, because it's kind of loud in the clubhouse, my question is, when you look at the positive results lately, is it more of a tweak that's mental, physical, or strategic?
Would you say some of the more positive results now are physical, mental, or strategic?
Probably a combination of both, honestly. I think obviously getting in the strike zone, it could be, but that could be, encompassed in all 3 of those. But yeah, just, being able to kind of get that good fastball back. And, I think it's no secret. I tend to pitch off my fastball. I feel like it can give you a lot of information, what the hitter's trying to do with that, and then just be able to pitch off that. So I think just have had a pretty decent fastball the last 6 or 7 outings or so. And that tends to make my job just a little bit easier.
It's that part where he said, it's obvious I do a lot with my fastball, but it can give you information on. And what he's referring to there, Zach is a very high baseball IQ player. Sometimes he's not instinctive enough. Sometimes he gets it. One of his flaws is he overthinks. But if his fastball command is there, just like for any pitcher, now they've got to worry about the fastball at all times, and it makes all of your breaking stuff that much more difficult because you're worried about the fastball. But with Zach, he can double down on that thought because he's so good at reading body language. He can see how you're attacking his fastball, and then he knows what of his breaking pitches are going to be more deadly against you. If you are staying back on the fastball and trying to drive it, then the knuckle curve won't be as effective. But if you're free swinging, free wheeling, and you're catching up with the fastball, well, then you're going to get devastated by the knuckle curve. And that's how he can kind of shift around some of his different pitches to compensate for what you're showing him by your body language, how you are planning to attack him. But without a successful fastball, he's not getting that information. So now a brainiac pitcher is pitching without what he believes is his best weapon. So not only is he less informed, but now he's less confident. You wouldn't say that, but that's exactly what happens when you don't have that. Because then you're mad. I don't know what's wrong with my fastball. I don't know what this guy's trying to do. And this is information I've got to have. I really like that. It was funny, too. I actually missed this. But I heard Zach say, I missed it from Torrey, but I heard Zach say, hey, we're right in this. We're not giving up on this. And the Diamondbacks are now 5.5 games out of the playoff spot. And he said it multiple times that we're in this. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, then when I got home and I put in my sound from my phone from Torrey Lovello, I realized Torrey had said it.
And look, like I said the other day in LA, we just got to keep our head down, keep charging. We're in this thing. I don't care what anybody says. We got to keep fighting for every little inch that we can get, and see where that lands us. And we're having a lot of fun out there. These guys are doing their job at a very high level, and it's yielding some really very positive, really good results.
Gosh, that was interesting. I don't know why I just blew it. I missed him saying that. But when I heard Zach say, hey, we're in this, blah, 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 I've been around enough locker rooms and clubhouses. What that means is I guarantee you Torrey said something in the clubhouse. And you might say, well, of course he did. No, when you get to the professional ranks with 162 games, a manager doesn't always address the team after the game. Actually, he rarely does. And so with it being rare, that's why it kind of grabbed me. For Zach to say that almost always means it was just put in his mind by his manager. So even though I think, listen, I don't want them to stop believing, go do your job, go be great. I talk to you with logic, and then I turn into fanboy when I'm not doing the show. So I want them excited. I want them believing in themselves. Do I logically believe in them? Absolutely not. I don't. I don't see it. The Mets, if they go 11-11 the rest of the way, the Diamondbacks have to go 18-3. I don't think the Diamondbacks can go 18-3. But maybe the Mets can't go 11-11, and then that changes everything. And there is belief right now in the clubhouse. They took a series from the Rangers. You really want to play ball? Do you really want to play ball? All right. Let's see what you do against the Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox right now are 3.5 games out of first place in the toughest division of baseball, the American League East. They're tied with the Yankees for second place. And they're up 4.5 games in that tie with the Yankees for the wild card. So they have a chance to come in here, obviously try to sweep the Diamondbacks, while Toronto and the Yankees beat each other up at Yankee Stadium this weekend. That's their goal. You guys beat each other up. The Red Sox would never actually root for the Yankees. But if the Yankees sweep the Blue Jays and the Red Sox sweep the Diamondbacks, then the Yankees and Red Sox are a half game out of first, eating Toronto alive. They will think that's awesome. I mean, there's going to be fire in the Red Sox belly. So, all right, Diamondbacks, you want to say you're still in it? Take on one of the best teams in baseball and let's see how you do. And then it's time for us to jump back on the bandwagon if the Diamondbacks sweep them. All right, coming up next. Real quick ASU, nothing deep, but then a WNBA player that I've never really enjoyed said something that it just shows you just don't get it. It's next on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass.
Here is Sue Rigler talking about game day at 100 Mile Brewing Company.
Game day here at 100 Mile Brewing is less than a mile away from ASU. So game day, we have the hockey game at Mullet. We've got basketball at Desert Financial, and we have football at Sun Devil Stadium. We have free parking, and you can actually even walk over. We've got a parking garage with 8 floors, so we'll never run out of parking, and it's free. So it's always a buzz and fun to watch the games here.
100 Mile Brewing Company. Fresh. It never gets old.
You know what keyboard shortcuts are? I keep doing something, and if you ever hear it, I'm sorry, because I know it sounds terrible. I've noticed it on a couple of recent Unplugged episodes. You hear this music, and it starts to go like really weird on you. That's because I'm being lazy. I shouldn't say that. I'm being habitual, and I need to focus on not doing it. I have to stop the recording of the show whenever I play sound. So whenever I play Tori Lavello, for an example, or something like that, I got to stop the recording, cut and paste Tori in, and then I restart the recording. I don't have the ability to play Tori on the fly as I'm talking. So, with that in mind, I stop it, and whenever I stop it, I hit the letter X. It is a keyboard shortcut that I have set up, and it's something I'm always playing with and tweaking to get it better, but it takes out really obnoxious sounding breaths and lip kind of smacks and things like that. It's funny. I just did a lip smack for you, but when I hit the X the next time I stop the recording, it might disappear. But sometimes I don't have it set correctly, and that's why if you ever hear me say something that ends in S and there's no S, well, that's because I've set it, I've screwed it up. And that's what this letter X does. Well, when you hit the letter X with music playing, it cuts out parts of the music. Like, no, don't do that. So I shouldn't hit the letter X after I've spoken over the music. And sometimes I do it anyway. So sorry about that. I just figured that out the other day when I was like, well, why is that happening? And I know now. All right, let's talk a little bit of football, and then I'm going to talk about the America's darling, Angel Reese. Just real quick on ASU. I don't have anything U of A, but here's Jeff Lebby, the Mississippi State head coach, and he was talking about ASU's offense.
There's going to be a ton of similarities from a schematic standpoint, without a doubt. You look at them defensively, 10 back on defense. Offensively, a ton of returners from the entire offensive line. Obviously, the quarterback and outside receiver and Jordan Tyson. And then they've got 2 backs that are playing really good and are really good that got great familiarity with. So they're a unit that's really dangerous on the offensive side of the ball and create a bunch of explosive plays. Again, a QB that I think people think is as good as there is in America. So they put those guys in positions of success. So got a great challenge.
My number one takeaway from what he said, my number one takeaway was, hey, buddy, plug into the malt box. Don't record audio from the room, record audio from the speaker. And I don't mean the speaker, I mean the guy talking. That's number one. Number two, the Devils don't return their full offensive line. So that was kind of interesting that he didn't know that and said that, but it's not that big of a deal. But I like what he said about Sam Levitt, that a lot of people say he's the best quarterback in the country. I noticed he didn't say that, but I did think it was powerful that he brought it up. And that's the kind of thing that Sam Levitt's is going to have to deal with this year, is the other team's coaching staff telling their players Sam Levitt is a Heisman Trophy candidate. You have a chance to sack the guy or intercept the guy that could win the Heisman. Or more specifically, you can stop him. Don't let him win the Heisman on your watch. Something like that to get your boys fired up, to raise their game. Brian Ward also spoke. He's the Devils' defensive coordinator. And he was asked, what does he see from Blake Shapen, the quarterback?
Yeah, I mean he's an experienced, poised quarterback. He makes good throws under pressure. He knows when he's about to get hit, and he has the courage to be able to step into some of his throws. He's also a guy that he trusts his receivers to be in spots, so he does a great job of putting the ball in spots against certain coverages. And there's an offense too that really exploits space. And so I think he's just a really talented quarterback and a leader, and he's able to get the ball downfield.
I didn't use the quote from Brian Ward, but he also had said before that this is an offense that's designed to get the running backs to attack you right up the middle and the receivers to attack every inch of grass wide. And right when you finally think you've got that solved, they hit you with play action right down the middle. Play action is the cool term for just simply faking it to the running back, hoping your defenders sell out to stop the run, and then you pull the ball away from the running back, turn and throw it down the field where you have fewer people because everybody's up trying to stop the run. And now he says this quarterback does a really good job of hitting people in space. What I have seen from Shapen is he's accurate, so therefore he gets yards after the catch. Not like he's going to throw the ball 80 yards, but where he puts it, if you aren't in perfect coverage, your guy not only catches the ball, but now he gets the yards afterwards. That's where offenses gash you. I mean, it's hard to just run an offense, get a receiver to run down 10 yards, stop, turn around, run a perfect hook, totally throw the ball at the top of the stem, have it drop into the receiver's lap. He catches it, steps out of bounds. Everybody's thrilled with how pretty. That's hard to do that 7 times in a series and drive the ball down the field. But you can hit somebody with one quick pass and the accuracy leads to 7, 8, 9, 15 more yards after the catch. Suddenly now you only need 3 or 4 plays to get down the field. And that's what Mississippi State does. If you are able to get your hands, it's going to be important for the defensive line to get their hands up and just simply knock down the ball. This is going to be an interesting test. I don't really have a prediction. If you ask me, I think ASU is going to win, but it was so unimpressive against NAU that you have to ask, are they going to cower under the expectations, or was that just a bunch of kids being kids and not focused on NAU? Oh, we're better than them. We're the Big 12 champs. And you come in and you get, you didn't really get your butt handed to you, but it was like your tail was between your legs at times in that game. This is an important one for ASU because a lot of things can splinter if they fall on their face against Mississippi State. Okay, listen, let's be fair. Sometimes I am the king of apologies. I have screwed up. I have said things that, looking back, I wish I wouldn't have said that. But when you do that, to me, you just got to come clean. You know what? This is what I said. This is why it was wrong to say that. And this is how it hurt people. I wish I would have said this, and now my apology from last week was I'm not apologizing for feeling like you failed when you didn't interview Torey Lovello. I'm apologizing for that's a personal attack when I called it gutless broadcasting, and there's no way around that, and that's just a crappy thing to say. So that's what I apologized for, not my opinion of you should have done it, but the way I phrased it in a unflattering and just a jerk way. It was a jerk thing to do. Well, Angel Reese said something just as ridiculous, but it's clear I need to help her with her apologies. Don't blame other people when you screw up. Just eat it. I mean, you talk about being a member of the Unplugged Army. I hope that we all do that. And sometimes it stinks to admit it. Like there's ramifications sometimes that are unfair. You screwed up, you need to eat it, and then when you eat it, somebody gives you more to eat. Like, well, wait a minute. I've eaten enough now, or other people that were wrong with you aren't willing to admit it. Well, that's on them. We stand up for what we do right and what we do wrong. Well, this is what Angel Reese said in an article that came out in the Chicago Tribune. And this is, it's kind of crazy. She rips her head coach, and then she says, and this is, again, I'm reading the quote from the Tribune. "I'm not settling for the same blank." She said crap with an S. "We did this year. We have to get good players. We have to get great players. That's a non-negotiable for me. I'm willing and wanting to play with the best. And however I can help to get the best here, that's what I'm going to do this offseason. So it's going to be very, very important this offseason to make sure we attract the best of the best, because we can't settle for what we have this year." Wow. Now, I don't know if you really think about what she's saying. She's saying everybody in her locker room stinks. It's all your fault. I mean, imagine somebody in your office, in all seriousness, standing up and yelling at this out-of-town boss. The Bobs have come to town. The Bobs are in town. They're doing an office visit. They're ready to report back to corporate what they see. And you stand up and yell, "Hey, I need better coworkers. We need to get great coworkers for me. That's a non-negotiable. I'm willing and wanting to work with the best. And however I can help to get the best here, that's what I'm going to do. It's very, very important that we attract the best of the best, because we can't settle for what I'm working with here." I mean, that's what she did. That's awful. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, that's bad. That's worse than calling somebody gutless. Okay? That's awful. So now that we've established how bad it was, what she said, I don't know what happened, but her coach was kind of interested, because her coach didn't say what was said. He said, "That'll stay between me and Angel, but I think that everyone had their opportunities to speak, and we'll leave it at that." Oh boy. So now that I've set the table for you, this was Angel Reese in the post-game press conference apologizing.
Are you frustrated with the organization or frustrated in general?
I don't think I'm frustrated. I probably am frustrated myself right now. I think the language is taken out of context. And I really didn't intentionally mean to put down my teammates, because they've been through this with me throughout the whole year. They've busted their ass just how I busted my ass. They showed up for me, through thick and thin, and in the locker room when nobody could see anything. So I would apologize to my teammates, which I already have, about the article and how it was misconstrued, about what was said. And I just have to be better with my language, because I know it's not the message, it's the messenger, and understanding what I say can be taken any kind of way. So I just have to really be better and grow from this.
What a crock. To me, it's I get more mad when the apology is ridiculous. Your message got misconstrued. It's the messenger and not the message. I've got to learn the way other people are going to take it. My teammates have been through me, but been through everything with me, but we've got to get better. You said we've got to get better players. And now it's the paper's fault that you have to apologize. Come on. That is not eating it. You're not really sorry. You said what you said. If she would have said, "I can't believe I was such a jerk. I want to win so bad. I am so frustrated that we have another terrible season, that I personally attacked the girls that are fighting just as hard as me." That I've really learned from this. That's not being a good teammate. I want to play on the best team, and I want to be part of the reason why we're the best team. And this is part of the reason why we're not. is because people like me say something like that. And all I can say is I'm sorry, and I plan on being a better teammate. And you're out. You're done. You're done. You can't sugarcoat saying we've got to get better players. And then turn around and blame the newspaper, blame us in the media, blame for misconstruing your exact quote. Was the quote the quote? It wasn't taken out of context. Just because it meant something you didn't realize that you're a selfish kid right now, that doesn't mean you didn't say it. Not the media's fault to report what you said. That's not taking it out of context. Oh, nobody else's fault but yours. That's not Doug's big one, but it would have been if I could have figured out how I feel about the Cardinals. It's time for Man, what happened? What happened? Just felt like little by little we had been growing. Little by little we're getting a little better. We were either right at 500 and then we'd slip in a 3-0, slip in a 3-1, slip in a 3-2. It took a step back over the weekend with a 3-4, but we bounced right back. Or no. That was the weekend before. After battling through and putting together some nice weeks, and 3-1 2 nights ago, we get punched in the face with a 1-3 yesterday. The only game we got right was our beloved Diamondbacks. I said D-backs on the money line over Texas. We got a 2-0 win. I didn't take them on the run line, though. I took them on the money line, so it was negative juice. So we definitely lost. I mean, I only bet $5 a game, so we didn't lose much, but we were doing well. I took the Giants minus the 2.5. They won, but they didn't cover. They won 10-8. Why we didn't take the over, I have no idea. That was a bad miss. We could have at least went 2-3. But we needed one more run from the Giants or one less run from the Rockies. Didn't get it. We took San Diego on the money line over Baltimore, and the Orioles won anyway, 7-5 in our face. And we took the Cubs on the run line to cover the 1.5. The Cubs didn't cover because they didn't win. Braves won 5-1. So we end up 3-1 on the day to completely reverse our 3-1 the day before. So we need to pull off a 3-0 today. All right, let's go. We're going to take Tampa Bay on the money line over Cleveland. The juice isn't very good. It's minus 160, so you might not want to touch that one. But Cleveland traveled. Tampa Bay's been sitting at home. Long flight for Cleveland. Rays are ready and rested. We'll take the Rays on the money line. I like Yankees and Houston to stay under the 8.5. I really love the pitching matchup. Always nervous about the Crawford boxes to take an under in Houston, but I like this game being very, very competitive. And love the Royals all over the Angels today. We'll take them on the money line too, though, just to make sure we're right. We'll eat the bad juice. We're not going to win a lot today, but we're going to go 3-0. We're going to get our confidence back and be ready to go. Rays and Royals on the money line. Yankees and Astros under the total. Sound credits today. I pulled that bad sound from Jeff Levy from the Paul Jones and his YouTube feed. Thank you, Paul. Plug into the Malt Box if you want some advice. Lots of Cardinals stuff today. Free plug for the website, azcardinals.com, or their YouTube page. You can always go there, and they show you the whole pressers, all of the press conferences, so you can watch it yourself. I pull what I think is the most important, that brings you in as a fan, that gives you the information, or something that I feel like I can teach from, or something I learned from, or if I have an opinion on. That's what I pull. But I thought that was some really interesting Cardinal stuff today. And I got Brian Ward from Sun Devil Source. Sun Devil Source's YouTube page, if you're an ASU fan, is a must follow, as they give you everything. And the Angel Reese, I pulled that from ESPN.com. I think that's it. Yep. That's all of my sound credits. No big events coming up, but man, I was driving home thinking it's been way too long for Bell's. So we might have a Bell's lunch coming up out of nowhere just to get together if anybody wants to get a beer and eat lunch at Bell's, because every now and then I go through withdrawal when I haven't been there in a while. That's located on Main Street in Old Town Scottsdale, just off of Scottsdale Road. When I say just off of, I mean 50 feet east of Scottsdale Road in super Old Town. Easy to park there this time of year, and it's delicious. Whirlwind is also delicious. I'm serious. Best wings in the city. And just ask anybody that was a part of the Unplugged Army fantasy team how good those wings are. It's amazing. Great food at Civlik. And oh, by the way, great golf on top of it. Thrilled. I haven't golfed at Whirlwind since the draft. So that was 2 weeks ago. That's too long. Time to get back out to Whirlwind. You can go to Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. I am Santan Ford. Just email me, Doug at DougFranzUnplugged.com, and I will get you a friends and family rate for your next new or pre-owned car. Parker & Sons, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical. Call 6022-REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons. Burrito Express has locations all across the east side and coming to a Circle K near you. Go to your local Burrito Express, and then when you're done, grab your phone and give them a great Google review, and do that to all of them. Make everybody earn it, but if they do, man, that would be powerful if the Unplugged Army is also a good source of positive reviews for all of our sponsors. 100 Mile Brew is located in Tempe, right where rural Scottsdale and the 202 all come together. Go south on Scottsdale Road /rural, and the split second, you either go under the overpass, or if you're going eastbound, as soon as you turn right, don't even straighten your wheels. You just keep turning right. It's like I always say, if you say, wait, was that it? The answer is yes, that was it. Turn right immediately, go through the hotel parking lot, and then you will see a flat white building, one-story building. That is 100 Mile Brewing Company, home of A Mountain Amber Ale, the number 1 beer in the history of the state of Arizona. And there's also Trophy Bar, which is fantastic. And I think I'm going to go there to the Kenny Dillingham show next Wednesday, and get the rigatoni. It's been, you can tell, I got to get on the bike. Dr. Fred, I got to get on the bike because I just want to keep going out to dinner. And I need to make sure I'm working off all of that. But boy, the rigatoni at Trophy sounds really good. Hey, if you want more Doug Franz Unplugged, you can get me on Twitter at UnpluggedDoug. You can get me on Instagram at Doug Franz Unplugged. And the conversation is always going on Discord. And just pay attention to following me, and every now and then I repost and re-like when Brian throws something up from Discord. If you want, it's discord.gg/2y6mqz6jvc. I don't know why I did that, but I was kind of entertained by that, Al. Al, it's 6:49 in the morning. I'm going to bed.
Doug, thank you so much. My best to your listeners, and keep up the work on Doug Franz Unplugged.